Welcome to our council meeting, possibly the last council meeting before changeover this year, because we haven't got another one scheduled next month. So good to see everybody. First of all, public question time. Are there any members of the public who wish to ask any questions? We have an allocation of 3 minutes per question. We'll get home earlier. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So that takes me on to the agenda proper. First of all, apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Judy Tainthorpe and Councillor Simon Lester. And I have apologies for late arrival from Councillor Nick O'Donnell, who's been on jury service, and the case went on rather longer than expected. He's rushing back as quickly as he had to get here. I now call on the Democratic Services Officer to read out a statement on behalf of the Chief Executive and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk reported that Councillor Evans has not attended a meeting of the council or its committees for a period of 6 consecutive months. And in accordance with Section 85 of the Local Government Act 1972, ceases to be a member of the Taunton Town Council on the 9th of March 2026, and a casual vacancy is therefore arisen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Pass on to item 2. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations that councillors wish to make? Thank you. Takes me on to item 3, the minutes. To approve and sign as a correct record of the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 11th of February 2020. That'd be 2026 or 2025. I will amend that. This is 2026. That will need amendment. They've been circulated. Do I have a proposal, please? Councillor Pollard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I declare those minutes. Sign them off to the meeting. Takes me on to item 4, referral of the minutes. To note the minutes and actions arising from the following committees, which are shown below on the agenda. I'll run through these very quickly and then take them one by one if anybody wishes to report. Grants Committee, the Operations and Assets Committee, the Personnel Committee, Finance and Governance, Planning, Development, Licensing, Community in Place, Planning, Development and Licensing again, and Operations and Assets. So we'll take the first one. Are there any minutes and actions arising from the Grants Committee, 27th of November 2025?
Just take these on block already.
Okay, as they've all been circulated, I will take these on block. If anybody's got any objections, we can take account afterwards. Is everybody in favour of these committee minutes being approved? All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? In that case, they are approved. Item 5, to receive any communications or announcements from the town mayor. That's an awful lot I could say, but it's my practice not to. Most of you will have seen the press releases that the council sends out, which are very detailed. Once a month, I give a report to the Gazette.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of information that's gone out about what the mayor does. All I will say is it's actually been fascinating in the last few weeks and absolutely wonderful community events, and it's been a great privilege as your mayor to attend these. So that's all I really wish to say under this heading. Item number 6, receive any communications or announcements from the leader of the council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Not a huge amount from me. I just wanted to pull out one particular event, which I thought was just wonderful for the town. It was great to have back, which was the half marathon that took place a couple of weeks ago. I think the town was just anyone who was in. I think it was just buzzing. And I had a number of visitors who came for the day who were just so pleased with how well the town was looking and just how vibrant it was. And it really was a wonderful day. Helped by I think it was 2,000 runners who took part on quite a tough course. I'd say so. Just one point, just thank you to the organisers for reviving that. And I know the sign up looking great for next year. So really great to see that back in the diary. I just wanted to press release link went out earlier this afternoon. The town council received £20,000 of grant funding for the National Lottery. We found out today. Wildflower recovery project, which is great. So we're always keen to bring in income whenever we can from grants and external bodies. So delighted that we're able to do that. So thank you to the team who put that bid together and secured that £20,000. That's not an insignificant sum, and we'll be able to do a huge amount with that, which is great. And then the final thing from me is just to mention the town meeting. A reminder that's taking place 2 weeks today, so on the 24th of March, starting at 6:30, and at the Brew House this year, which is great. So part of our funding arrangement with the Brew House, that they're hosting our annual town meeting, which is set to be a really good evening and a chance for the public to come along and quiz us, which is great.
Thank you, Councillor Deacon. I'd just like to say just a couple of things in response to what you've just said. I was actually present, as you know, at a marathon and also at Swimathon. It's so good to see so many people from the town participating. It's a tremendous community town, Taunton, and also the many community organisations which help to support it. Without volunteers, many of the services that people get would just not be there. So that's something I've experienced a lot, seeing what people do this year. The second thing I want to say is we would like to congratulate our leader, Tom, on the latest addition to his family. Congratulations, Tom. I think we owe you a round of applause.
And I think it's my wife who's at the round of applause.
Well, it takes two. That takes me on to item 7, reports from chairs of the committee. Now, chair of each council committee provides an overview, a maximum of 3 minutes, of the business conducted since the previous council meeting. So can I just ask if there are any committee chairs who wish to make a report, or if not, the chair, whoever is representing that committee? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, but obviously my capacity as chair of the community in place, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just a brief outline that our community in place committee met recently on the 24th of February with a varied impact agenda, which took just over 2 hours to complete. So it was a lot on it. And a few of the decisions and highlights of that was it's great to see these ward members' initiative schemes coming through. There's only a few that are coming through at the moment. The last of the few that are coming into place, and then obviously we've got a change coming as to which committee they will go to. But just we've a new bin at the Blackthorn Pocket Park was submitted by Councillor Deane. Part funding of an enhanced feasibility study to look into speeding on Trawl Road, which came about due to difficulties faced by the children crossing on their way to Parkfield School, and obviously the residents as well. And that was submitted by myself and Councillor Garside. And funding for a weekly coffee morning for the Lizier Way community group that was submitted by Councillor Smith-Roberts. There's a really great ward members initiative there. We gave approval to a company to deliver the youth services review, so that should be starting soon. Another great thing was approve the commissioning of a one-off spring clean of the selected bus shelters in our parish, which we probably all agree is long overdue. And following the outcomes of the community review, we had the town council undertook a community review not long after we actually came into being. So sort of cast your minds back to sort of 2023, early 2024. And the members agreed that a quarterly community impact report will be a recurring community agenda item on our committee, so we can note progress of those things that were actually brought up, and also it will be published on the website too. And just to sort of about the wildflower strategy, the Bumblebee Conservation Trust will be delivering that wildflower strategy to help create those wildflower corridors in our parks and open spaces. And last but not least, approval was given to 2 safety initiatives that were aimed at preventing violence against women and girls, which was partially funded by a grant from Avon and Somerset People at Linford Park and Priorswood, which we'll agree is 2 really great initiatives. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say you work extremely hard. Yes, I was just going to say that you work extremely hard on a committee which really has been growing dramatically in its scope. Thank you for that report. Are there any other members who wish to provide an update? Councillor Garside.
Yes, with the Hospitality, Leisure and Tourism Committee met last night. We had a very wide-ranging discussion about the many problems that exist, mostly about the lack of linked up or joined up thinking within the tourism business. You know, the inhospitable Falcon bus stop, for example. The way that, you know, that people actually, when they arrive in Taunton, they don't know where to go because they don't realise that there's a visitor centre, and there's no designated parking for the coaches who arrive in Taunton. They either park on Castle Way or they park on Castle Green where they're not supposed to park, and then you know what, they get off the coach and the need for, you know, for us maybe to send out maps to coach companies, you know, so that they actually arrive and the driver can actually give them a map and then say off you go and enjoy Taunton. The other thing we discussed was Miranda is doing a kind of overview of the visitor centre, how it's used. She's looking at studying how it's used, how people use it, who uses it, and for what purpose. You know, it's mostly used by people of the town, but you know there are other people who come and also find it and use it. We covered a lot of things. How there's a need for a partnership, maybe between hospitality and cultural activities. So there is a lot of potential there, and how in order for things to improve, we need to have more joined up thinking. And there is a lot of potential. The number 22 bus route was mentioned, that this now stops outside Sheffies, and it could be a potential kind of little trip out for people of Taunton to go to Sheffies for lunch and then go on to Wellington for tea and then come back again. It's an opportunity. So it was very interesting.
Thank you, Councillor Garside. As you know, I should have been at the meeting myself, but I was at an interfaith meeting in Yeovil with the Lord Lieutenant. It's been a challenging year when you're mayor, because you get pulled in so many different directions. But thank you for all the work that you've been doing. And next year I shall be getting more involved again. It's a subject dear to my heart, as you know. So thank you for that. Are there any more reports? Councillor Roberts first, please.
Thank you, Chair. So just an update from the Major Projects Working Group, because I couldn't go through a meeting with not saying about how well we're doing with the toilet and everything, as you know. So Paul Street is progressing. It's not quite ready yet, but we're almost there in getting it open. We've just got some extra bit of building issues around fire safety that we've just got to finish, but hopefully I'm going to cross the line shortly on that. You'll also see things like Cannon Street was closed earlier in this week for maintenance. That shows how we genuinely want to keep our toilets and everything up to date. That needed just a little bit of work that day, just to keep them in the great standard that not only we built them in, but also about our brilliant cleansing team look after them to a high standard. In relation to access bollards that we spoke about recently, we're liaising with stakeholders at the moment in relation to parks so that we can get feedback and understanding the best kind of way forward with that project.
Thank you, Councillor Smith-Roberts. I'd just like to say that one of the comments that has been made to me quite a lot as I go around as mayor is people are very pleased with the way our toilets have been improved, and I'd just like to pass that back to you. Councillor Packer-Hughes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Glad to have made it in time for this section. Just a quick update. We had a personnel committee meeting earlier this year. We approved a number of policies or recommended a number of policies. One to note particularly is the standby and call out policy, which we looked at to ensure that our staff are adequately remunerated and the workload is spread amongst the workforce. Now that we have a lot of assets that might need call outs on evenings and weekends, so really, really glad that's in place. We also approved the White Ribbon Initiative as well, so we can go for White Ribbon accreditation, which is a scheme that aims to end violence against women and girls. So again, another really great scheme to be involved in. We also had a grants committee meeting as well, where we fully gave out all grants money available to us this year, including some money that we'd claimed back previously from projects that didn't go ahead, and redistributed that to some very, very worthy causes. So that's all of the grants allocation for this year. And we have also since had a meeting to look at the schedule for the various grants windows for next year, including the venue grant fund and also the new round of youth grants. So I would urge anyone, if you have any community venues in your area, please do encourage them to have a look at that fund. It's likely to go very quickly early in the year, so if they do have a big project that might need our support, do get them to apply early. All the rest of the dates will be up, I think, on the website very shortly. So thanks to Will and all the finance team for the work on that. The youth grant will be following slightly on again. So again, if you know any other organisations who do work with young people, provide youth services, get them to have a look at that, because that will be a 3-year funding package that will be up to £15,000 spread over that 3 years for those who receive the successful bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Packer-Hughes. Obviously, grants are an important part of what we do as a council, so thank you for all the hard work that's gone into that. Are there any other committee reports? In that case, I'll pass on to the next item. Oh, I'm so sorry, somebody. That then brings me on to the next item, reports from outside bodies appointees. Are there any updates from any outside body appointees? Thank you very much indeed. That brings me on to item 9, to receive any reports or communications from Somerset councillors. Are there any Somerset councillors present? You are invited to give us an update, maximum of 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Dawn Johnson, Somerset councillor for Coventry and Trolls. A couple of general points from the council. We've set a balanced budget for next year, which was fantastic. That happened last week, seems a long time ago, which is a great achievement given the challenging times financially, but we are looking really positively towards the next year in terms of recovery of the council's financial situation, which was really good news to hear. I would just remind anyone who has any issues with gullies, ditches, please make your highways department aware of them, because we have set aside some extra pennies to address that over the next year or so. So, you know, please do report those in if we've got any areas that really need addressing that are causing flooding issues, and we're looking to get those addressed over next year. I want to raise 2 more local aspects of my work as Somerset Council. So we have been fighting to protect our Troll Ridge. We've managed to retain it as a recognised ridge within the Green Wedge policy at Somerset Council. That was the first battle. We then managed to overturn an officer's recommendation for building 125 houses on our ridge. We had fantastic support from the committee, unanimous support from the committee to go against the officer's advice. It's going to be an ongoing battle we have a know of another developer, Strongbox, who actually came to present to Taunton Town Council, and I'm not quite sure why they came because it's not in your patch, but I know they came to pitch to Taunton Town Council, and I'm guessing they're looking for support, but we will certainly not be supporting them building another 40 houses on that ridge. It's going to go on and on and on, and I think everyone needs to be aware, if you have green wedge patches in your areas, they are builders who are really going to, developers who are really going to start attempting to build on those patches. And, you know, if we've got a green policy that protects a bit of land, we have to defend it, in my book. We've got plenty of other bits of land that won't be defendable, given the government's current policy to build an extra 75,000 houses in Somerset. So please, I would ask for this council's support if there are any developments that come forward for planning permission on green wedge land. Please do your best to ensure that you are protecting areas that have protected policies. And if you do get any further contact from developers on any of the ridges in the patch which sits outside Taunton, I'd be interested to know, because I really didn't understand why Strongbox came to Taunton Town Council and how they pitched it. The other thing I wanted to mention is I met with Marcus today and a large number of people about the Orchard Grove development. So Marcus, Simon Fox, who's the planning officer out at Orchard Grove, was there. Church members were there. Habib and I were there, and it was really to start conversations about developing the community hub out there. It's got a really strong sense of community building out on that development. There's 453 properties now are habited there. Don't know if that's a word, inhabited. But there's a real strong desire from the community, and I've joined the local Facebook group, and there's lots of people wanting more for the children there. There's a lot of families there, and at the moment there's one very small park which really doesn't cater for the younger teenagers. They're ending up hanging out at the abattoir site, which is dangerous and contaminated. They really shouldn't. They really need your support as their representative body to start developing the green spaces there, to start developing the parks there, to get some support for community hub where they can actually have activities for young people, youth clubs. It's really getting to the point now where we have to start supporting that community with some facilities. I think the trigger for the community hub is 600 houses occupied, so we're getting close. In the next year or two we need that hub, and the community are already crying out for it. That, you know, they're using the school premises for any community gatherings they do. So it was a really positive meeting. I think Marcus would agree, really positive. There's a lot of will there to do some really positive work out on the site. We've got a Hawks Ridge development of play area and allotments coming forward in the next year, and that will really support the community well. We're looking to maybe see if we can do a pump, which I didn't know it was called a pump, but basically BMX bike track type things. There's a lot of really good ideas coming from the community, and we're meeting with Live West, who do a lot of the property management out there.
Please, Dawn.
Sorry. So yeah, it's just my plea that I know still monies are coming the way of Taunton Town Council from that development. My plea would be, please earmark some of that to support the work you can be doing to support that community out there. It's still money from that development. It would be great if it could go back to that development.
Thank you, Dawn. Susan? Thank you. I'd just like to ask Marcus to would like to say something in response to that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on the point about the Strongbox presentation at the most recent planning committee, we have actually commented on planning applications that do straddle our border sometimes, and that's, I believe, entirely appropriate. We have had the surrounding parishes comment on applications that sit near the border with sort of the other outlying parishes as well. So I don't have any concerns about that. We had the briefing in a committee meeting. It was live streamed. Members asked questions. We wanted to ensure we were doing it in the most transparent way possible. And the council didn't sort of express a view. They asked questions, and That was the reason why the briefing was taken forward. I did discuss it with the clerk of Troll Parish Council at one of the most recent briefings. By the way, that we've been approached by the developer.
Thank you for clarifying that, Marcus. And that takes me on to Federica Smith-Roberts, Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Thanks. I didn't know whether Giuseppe had a question. He put his hand up. I didn't know whether you can do questions in this, but he had his hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I missed that.
It's all right. No worries. It was just just for clarity, really, just because I've got a question that actually affects one's residents over at Orchard Road, which is kind of time sensitive, and just wanted to know when was the most appropriate time to answer it. The agenda really allow me to do that.
I'm happy for you to make the point now.
Okay, it was just a quick one. On the face of it, there seems to have been a bit of an almighty cock up, really, by Somerset Council. It appears the residents at Orchard Grove haven't been paying Taunton Town Council precept for the past 3 years. So I wondered, obviously, council tax bills are coming out this month, and what does that mean for Taunton Town Council? What does that mean for those residents over there as well? Because obviously they will now face this huge jump in their council tax bill, and also how much money would we have been owed essentially from those residents paying toll different years, because they should have been paying the Taunton Town Council precept. So yeah, that's kind of my question.
Your point has been noted, and it's been edited. Sorry, and take a response.
I think the RFO has the.
Yes, I'd like to take a response from Gail, please.
Right. Just to put some figures on the question that you've got. So if we take the 26-27 year, we have 28,499 dwellings in place. To get the tax base, which is the total number of Band D properties, which is also adjusted for discounts, exemptions, voids and collection rate, our tax base then comes out at 20,603. So that's approximately 72% of the number of dwellings because of the adjustments. Our Band D charge for 26-27 is £336. If we adjusted it for, say, 300 houses, I wasn't exactly certain how many houses were affected, at the same 72%, that would mean that the adjusted Band D would fall at £332.52. So the difference there is approximately £3.50. We don't actually lose out as a council because we make our precept demand based out on our budget. So we don't actually lose anything. It's just the residents' Band D charge that will be different. And the impact of that, of those number of houses, would be about £4.50 a year.
And do you mind if I just start?
No, we have to stop there. I'm afraid this is not a debate.
It's not about, I'm just asking to kind of explain in a bit more layman term for me, because obviously I'm just trying to figure out if those houses haven't been paying Taunton Town Council precept of 200 or whatever it was, and then 300 now, etc., and they've been paying £40 a year to the other two parishes. So forgive me, I'm struggling to understand how we then don't lose out as a council, because we've not been then given that money. That money's been going to two other parishes. I'm confused how it kind of sorts.
It doesn't work like that. The money goes to the billing authority, which is Somerset Council. They're the ones who make the adjustments. So the money's all been going to Somerset Council. We make it as a town council. Our income is the precept, and we've made our precept demand, and we have it all paid to us. So any shortfall, it doesn't impact on us at all. It would, of course, impact those residents that have been paying £44 instead of 300 and something pounds when Somerset sort out the movement in the boundary.
Thank you. We really must move on. If this is a subject,
They are in our boundary.
Yeah, they are in our boundary.
They made a mistake.
if this is a subject on which you require further clarification, we will deal with this outside the meeting. Thank you for that inquiry. And thank you, Dawn, for that very full report. We do appreciate it at Taunton when Somerset councillors do bring us up to date with what's happening. So thank you for taking the trouble to come. That takes me on to item 10. I do apologise, Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Sorry, Martin, I just wanted to come in on a few items, particularly around Somerset Council, where I guess I sit on the executive, and a little bit more around Taunton East. Dawn's covered a little bit around some of the stuff that's happening at Somerset Council, particularly the 4.99% increase on council tax that was voted through in a very long meeting last week. That averages around £1.78 extra a week on a Band D property. Noting, I want to say from recollection, that in Taunton in particular, around 75% sit within A to C, so they will see less of an increase on that. And then we've had to ask government to allow us some exceptional finance, so that, but we are moving from what was a financial emergency to more fragile states, but actually that's a positive movement where we are doing transformation and looking to seek recovery. And we, as Dawn said, around putting £5 million extra into some of the things that probably we as all councillors see when we're out and about, but also what we get told a lot by residents. Somerset will be putting more money into things like the drains, but it really relies on people logging them. It relies on people logging the potholes, as an example. I went out about a week or so ago and I logged 40 within 3 roads that I had been told had been logged by residents, or that they told me about them, but actually they hadn't been put through into the system. So it would be great if people do log what they see. But we are seeing such huge amounts logged, with over 16,000 logged since the beginning of January across Somerset. So the teams are going out and getting to them, but with the best will in the world, no teams are going to get to 16,000 instantly, but it is about keeping those logged, and the teams will get to them either within 24 hours, 2 hours if they are so severe, 7 days or 28 days on like the smaller amounts. When it comes to Taunton, just some positive news or some celebrations that took place recently, and just to big up the library service, really. I know that we here support the library service in Taunton, but the one in Paul Street celebrated their 30th birthday of moving there, and they do some brilliant things, such as World Book Day. For the first time we did a costume swap. I hope that we can look to continue that, just that helps local families. But just around the health and wellbeing initiatives, if you want to go check your blood pressure, maybe prior to a full council meeting of here, you can pop along to the library and get a blood pressure monitor, as well as many other things. You know, Borrow Box, as an example, is a free online version of basically Amazon, the Kindle app, so that you can access books, and they're, you know, free for kids. When it comes to Taunton East, I had a really great time, 2 weeks ago, opening. Ray came along as well, opening the new Lavinia House, which is on the site of the Oxford Inn. Some really great flats there, some that are accessible, but they're built to a really high standard. Got Swift boxes, bug boxes, done with really zero carbon as an ambition, EV charging points for residents. So really transformed what was the derelict pub into some really great accommodation for people. So there are some really good things happening that we just need to celebrate. But the big thing I can say to do is to log and report everything, whether that's to Somerset Council, whether that's to us, I guess, as Taunton Town Council when you're in our parks, but also I went to a residents meeting talking about antisocial behaviour. They were saying that it was consistent, but the police had only seen 7 logs. So again, it's just about people letting those that can do something about it actually know about it. And we heard that at the LCN as well from the local police. Report.
Thank you, Councillor Smith-Roberts. I'll switch the mic on again. Councillor Deacon, I believe you wanted to say something.
Yeah, just as my Somerset Council update from Taunton North, just on the library service. a conundrum the other day of where do we go and weigh our new baby? Oh, the library. And it really is. There's so much more in there that when you just need to access it to go and access it, it really is an amazing service, and we're very lucky to have the service that we do. We can understand how it priors works as well. On the theme of just logging things, when you log things enough and hustle enough and push hard enough, things do happen. So I'm delighted that Overbridge Roundabout has now been resurfaced. That was much needed for a long time, saving a lot of pushing behind the scenes, but thrilled that that's happening. Hopefully some good news to come as well in a few days on Bossington Drive and Lingford Road in my patch as well. So really pleased with that. And the only other thing I wanted to say was just a thank you to this council. Reports of overgrown hedges on Dorchester Road. Turns out they were the responsibility of Live West. A phone call and a letter from this council to encourage them to undertake the work meant that that was done in around 2 weeks and completed. So again, back to Federica's comment, please residents report things, tell your local council, let us know, and we can make things happen in our areas.
Thank you very much, Councillor Deacon. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just quickly, a couple of things that other people haven't mentioned. One thing is obviously the work starting, Somerset Council's work starting at the mobility hub, and there's going to be a public drop-in, I think, on the 18th of March at the Wyndham Picture House from 3:30 till 7. Just if people want to go and see, find out more information about the works they're doing. So that's all the public realm stuff, all of the bus stops, the real-time digital information, yada yada. So that's positive because we really need that to get going. There's also work supposedly going to be starting soon about the flood alleviation scheme affecting properties on Clarence Street particularly, and the green at Clarence Street. It's a pity this didn't need a planning application because it's all there's not a lot of information, detailed information in the public domain, although the properties along Clarence Street that back onto the river have been given, a lot of updates because it affects them. But there will be trees coming out there, 3, but not the massive ones. The massive ones will be protected, the big chunky ones, while works are going on. This is my understanding, this is what I've been told, and there will be they will be replaced. Obviously not, we have a 3-for-1 replacement policy, Somerset Council doesn't, but it's just important. It's great that Taunton Town Council has said that after the flood alleviation scheme works are done, then Jordan and Co will really look into making a lot more of the green on Clarence Street and not just putting it back so that it's nice space for people to exercise their dogs and chat and whatever and play and muck about, but do a spot of sort of rewilding and try and make a lot more of it. So that's really positive.
What time is the Wyndham Picture House presentation? Do you know?
It's a drop-in, so it's one of these drop-ins, and I think it's 3:30 till 7, and I think that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, that is right.
That's
Yeah, 3:30 till 7.
It's quite important because we've waited a long time for this mobility hub, so many people as possible who can go. Wow. Thank you very much. We do have another Somerset councillor amongst our midst, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for my lateness. I've been up in the world all day. So just following on, I've just got a few things, just following on from Councillor Deacon. I've got some good news on some resurfacing in my area. I've been pushing hard and emailing a lot about Salisbury Street, and finally it's supposed to be done at the end of February, but it's got pushed back, and it should be done now in the next week or so. So it's only 49 metres, but it's in a dreadful state, and it's the worst bit being done. So it's really good, and it just shows what happens when you do keep pushing and keep emailing. In our area, I'm afraid we've got a major road closure coming. The Kingston Road, Hope Corner Lane, is going to close the road for 3 weeks from the end of March, or that's when it's anticipated to happen. And the diversion again is going to take you, well, if you're north of Hope Corner Lane, the diversion will again take you up through Kingston and Cottleston and Bishop's Lydia, all the way back round. Obviously, if you're local and you know the back roads, you'll be able to avoid a lot of that. But the official diversion is quite big, but that's for 3 weeks, that's at Hope Corner Lane. There was also more Wales and West gasworks going on at Rectory Road in the Staple Grove. That's in the next couple of weeks. I was just going to also mention, which is probably slightly the previous one, outside bodies, but from the highways LCA, but it's the Somerset Council thing, is there is an initiative at the moment from the local electrical vehicle infrastructure going on. And they have, Somerset Council has received a large amount of funding to install around about 1,600 car charging points on urban areas and roads. And if you go to Somerset Council website, you can go to suggest a charging point. So any resident in Somerset can go onto this website, and if you feel there's a suitable location, they're looking for lampposts on the edges of streets and in roads, you can just log it as a potential site. They're going to install anywhere between 3.5 kilowatts and 7.5 kilowatt charging point, but they're going to be on street car charging points, and they're just looking for residents to suggest locations. There is guidance on the website as to what is considered a good location and what is not considered a good location. I've managed to register one in my area, but it's a good step forward. I would encourage you to do that. Something came through the LCN highways, but it's money that Somerset Council has received, and it's one thing to show.
Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You will sign the minutes of the last meeting as being correct. Is that right?
I was about to, because there were no objections.
Tonight, we've heard a number of our other councillors from the Somerset Council give information out. But in the minutes, there isn't a single word saying what these councillors have said. And unless someone's actually looking at us now on screen, or they have time to actually come into it, they'll never know what's a councillor. We've had 4 or 5 councillors giving information no one knows about. What this should be in our minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. I think this is something to pass over to Marcus as Deputy Town Clerk to comment on that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and Councillor Tully for your feedback. Obviously, we can take that away and look into that if that's something that the members wish to see more detailed minutes on that particular item. But I think, yeah, we'll take that away and get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. I think that was a valid point, and as Marcus said, it will be addressed. Thank you. That brings me on to the next item. I take it that all Somerset councillors have actually had their say. Don't think there are any more. We've got a pretty full house tonight, and thank you all for your contributions. That brings me on to item 10, the forward plan. We merely have to note the forward plan. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Tully. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Solly. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I declare that confirmed. Thank you. Brings me on to item 11, which is actually the first time we've done this at this stage. So this is actually a very important move. Item 11 is Deputy Mayor nominations. Now, traditionally, the Deputy Mayor has not actually been actually put forward until the mayor making ceremony, which means you actually have no time really to prepare for it. You're suddenly in the job. So we as a council have been looking at this procedure, and we've taken the decision to appoint our nominee at this stage. Nevertheless, the nomination has to be officially put forward at the annual meeting of the Town Council, which is held later this month. So this is the first step. And we've received just one nomination for Deputy Mayor from Councillor Bev Fernandez and by me for Councillor Rob Isaacs. So I'm going to just say a few words about Rob, and then I'm going to pass over to Bev as Deputy Mayor, to also say a few words. We did actually discuss amongst ourselves a long time ago who might be suitable to be put forward as deputy mayor. And I just have to say, Rob, you've put a huge amount into the council since you were elected. You actually stood for a by-election. You got elected, and ever since you've put your heart and soul into this council. I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that I think you will be a wonderful deputy mayor, subsequently mayor. I'll now pass over to the deputy mayor, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just to say again that his experience of organising those events over at Wellsprings the community events have been absolutely brilliant, and it's just highlighted all those valuable networking skills and people skills that are going to come in handy. I think that's really been demonstrated well. And I think he's also been a member of our civic task and finish working group. So, you know, he's shown a real interest in those civic matters and the civic role of the mayor, and recognising that the importance that the front-facing role as mayor is within our town council. So yes, again, I've got no hesitancy in recommending that we go with Councillor Isaacs. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, thank you, Beth. I now like to call on the candidate, Councillor Rob Isaacs, to speak for up to 3 minutes and just address the suggested questions which came from those that have put you forward as a whole. Number one, what would you bring to the role of deputy mayor and then mayor? Secondly, what would you like to achieve during your time as deputy mayor and mayor? And 3, just a little bit of evidence of chairing meetings, not necessarily Taunton Town Council, but committees in general. So if you'd just like to say a few words, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps you'd like to just put those points out if I missed a few.
Right.
First, I think I'd be very honoured and pleased to do the role, as Councillor Fernandez just said. I really like to get engaged with the community spirit, and even the odd community toilet, which we opened together last spring. And it's just really good to see joy on people's faces, old, young, and wherever. And it's good to be putting some money and effort back into the community. Not just moving on, not just being part of the town council, but I was vice chair and chair some of the times at Cheddar Fitzpaine Parish Council for some almost 15 years. So taking up the SALC and the other institutions, training on chairing and other things. I do believe my skills are transferable from the day job, if you like, through financial services, running large teams, supervising and counselling, if that all comes into the job. Really, it's listening to people and then taking that forward to make it work. And it's the last event that we did, and I was very pleased that the mayor could come along. The Wellsprings event, we had over 400 people turn up. That was a lot of people helped to put that on. And I was pleased that it all gelled and came together. There's a few things dropped out with end, but maybe can't finish and other things. But I do believe that that's where I will bring that cohesion and bringing that whole thing together. Thanks, Steve. Well, he's there. He's been a great help, obviously, in doing the agendas and doing the teams and then putting out the minutes. A lot of this sprung from my chair at North Development Group. We've got 83 members in that. Not all can turn up when we hold these meetings, but that's invaluable to spread different things across the North Taunton area, and hope to engage across wider town population. I sent Marcus an email today from an entity. I don't know if Marcus has read that yet, but that was very, very good that Somerset, from a health perspective, wanted to get more engaged with us doing that sort of thing. So I think I've got a good network and I want to expand that. And last but not least, be a good help to Councillor Fernandez and her mayoral year. We will support her 100%. Thanks, that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate what you've just been saying, Rob. This is quite interesting because councils have very strict rules laid down. We now have to consider whether to elect you or not elect you as deputy mayor nominee. That's the procedure. We only have one candidate, but you could choose, if you so wished, not to be in support. So I will need a proposer from the floor, Councillor Pollard, and I need a seconder, Councillor Smith-Roberts. So I will now ask for a show of hands. All those in favour, could you please show? Are there any against? Any abstentions? Rob, I'm absolutely delighted to say that you have the full support of the council. Congratulations. I now have to make a statement that if elected, which you now have, Councillor Rob Isaacs will be the nominated candidate for Deputy Mayor and will be named on the agenda for the annual meeting of Taunton Town Council on the 7th of May 2026. As it says here, if not elected, the council will agree arrangements for the reopening of nominations. Thank goodness we don't have to go through that again. And thank goodness you've been elected, as I said earlier, and so has Bev. We welcome you to the mayoral team. That takes me on to item 12, street tape trader electric fee. Now I'm calling on project lead Emily Glover, who's going to introduce the item. Emily.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This report sets out the proposed approach for setting the electricity cost for street traders using the town centre electric cabinets. New prepayment meters are being installed this month in a number of electricity cabinets in the town centre, ready for the transfer of the electricity supply from Somerset Council from the 1st of April 26. From this date, we need to have set the electricity price for traders. As previously reported, the electric cost would be set at a rate that ensures costs to the council are neutral. As several factors remain unknown until a utility provider is selected, for example, the unit rate and standing charge, we're not able to present an exact figure to members tonight. Instead, we are seeking delegated authority for the responsible finance officer, RFO, to set the price using the method outlined in the report. The report covers the elements that must be incorporated to ensure the council operates on a cost neutral basis. These include the electricity unit rate, the standing charge, administration time, payment system transaction fees, the physical cost of the prepayment cards and associated VAT. The methodology proposed to capture the costs for each of this element is described within the report. It's important to note this is a new, very complex area of work and there are a number of unknowns. So, for example, we do not yet fully understand the usage of the traders. This makes it challenging setting the fee. So therefore, we propose reviewing the electric price quarterly so that we can ensure that we are meeting the council's costs and adjusted costs, the fees accordingly. The recommendations of the reports are for members to agree the proposed approach as outlined in this report for setting the electricity price for street traders and to delegate authority to the responsible finance officer to set the initial electricity price along with any required adjustments identified upon review. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, please? Councillor Smith-Roberts.
I haven't put my hand up.
For once.
I think.
I do apologise. I was looking
That's confused if it's not a
looking
problem.
right past you. And, it's an age thing. You must forgive me. Councillor Patrick.
It's just a brief question, and I'm fully in favour of this. I think it's excellent. I'm really glad to see there's going to be quarterly reviews. That's really sensible, and all of those elements in, including administration costs. I just wanted to check as a point of clarity. I'm assuming at those quarterly checks, if for any unknown reason electricity prices go down, we would then pass that on to the traders.
Thank you. Julie?
Yes, so under Ofgem's maximum resale price rules, we can't charge more for electricity than what we're paying ourselves. So the electricity unit rate and the standing charge have to be taken as they are. So yes, that would have to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Deacon?
Thank you. Yeah, also, actually, I know a lot of work has gone into this one report, so thank you. In terms of the governance ongoing, so the quarterly reviews, it might be in here, sorry if I've missed it. Where will that come back to a committee or to a group of councillors to review that regularly, and if so, which one?
Under the recommendations, it's to delegate authority to the RFO to be able to agree those review prices. So as it stands as the report, no, it wasn't intended to come back to committee to agree that.
Okay, I'm uncomfortable with the delegate authority because we need to keep the flexibility, but could I request that if something does change, that the relevant committee, operations aspects, finance, I don't want pressure on which one, it's just can note that change, just so that is out in the public domain that something has happened and we've made a decision. But yeah, I'm happy with the delegated authority.
This time it is Councillor Smith-Roberts.
I was just going to build on that because Tom asked partly the question I was going to ask about that review. I'm wondering if we need to do then an annual review of it, if that makes sense, and whether that is that FinGov that would go to, so that then we just make sure that we're constantly keeping on top, because things will change along the journey. And just Emily, can you just remind me again when this will be all completed and done as a piece of work, so we're ready to go on the 1st of April? Isn't it? And the contractors are gearing up and ready.
Yes, so the transfer happens on the 1st of April. We've had confirmation from the contractors that everything will in place by then. They're coming on site tomorrow to start installing the meters.
Thank you. Councillor Fleming?
Thank you. When we do know the supplier, will that be made public? And if we have to change, on the quarterly, will that will it also be made public?
The supplier will be signed for a 12-month contract. Also, we'll have a fixed price for the electricity.
Councillor Solly?
Thank you again. Yeah, I haven't got any problems with this at all. And thanks again to Taunton Town Council for saving this for the street traders. I would like to just highlight again, I'm still very keen at some point being at Belvedere for Taunton Town Council to have that discussion with Somerset Council to possibly take on the licensing side of things, because at the end of the day, without taking on this, they were happy to drop rates. Not much time. So yeah, I'm very much still keen for Taunton Town Council to have that discussion at some point. And yeah, I would never say never. So thank you.
Councillor Church?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies if I missed it. Just to check that we're keeping the street traders up to date as best as possible. And just to double check again, I may have missed it. If we don't get everything in place by the 1st, it doesn't mean lights out for the traders, does it?
Thank you. So yes, we've been keeping the traders up to date. So we had a walk around on the 24th, spoke to the traders that were out there. We also have been emailing them, sharing it with Somerset Council so they can make sure everyone on their list is also getting the updates. We're also holding some drop-in sessions on the 18th and 19th at the Vista Centre, so any traders can come in and talk to us if they have any questions. Apologies, I've forgotten the second part of your question.
Just to make sure there's not a break in the supply.
Thank you. Yes, so the transfer will happen from Somerset Council from the 1st of April. So ultimately the electricity supply will be there. What it will mean is that we will be paying the bill for that electricity.
Thank you.
Yes, Angela, do you want to come in again?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to pick up Councillor Solly's point, just to confirm that we have got a meeting in the diary on the 13th of April with Somerset Council to look at that very issue. Obviously, April will see the kick-off of the second part of the project, which is around process and policy, but we will discuss with them which is the avenue that we go down.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else who wishes to say anything? I'll take another comment for you, Councillor Furman.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I meant, would the name of the company that we're getting electricity from, will that be made public?
Yes, it's likely to be because all of our electricity suppliers are.
Okay.
Well, thank you. That's a very important discussion. I remember the original debate when the electricity was withdrawn from the traders and the distress that it caused in the town. So this is really important that we maintain the continuity. Thank you, everybody, for all the efforts that are going into that. That takes me on to the next item, item 30. Oh, I'm so sorry. We need to take a formal vote on this. The item is number 1, to agree the proposed approach as outlined in this report for setting the electricity price for street traders. And secondly, to delegate authority to the responsible finance officer to set the initial electricity price, along with any required adjustments identified upon regular review. We'll take those two items together. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Solly. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Garside. All those in favour? Any against? The abstention? I declare that confirmed. Thank you. That now does take me on to item 13, the annual risk report. I'd now like to call on the Financial Resilience Lead, Angela Farmer, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members. So before you tonight is the annual risk report. We have taken the opportunity to review and evolve the structure of risk for the council. Previous reports, you've seen a very sort of linear structure for risk, very much based on service risk. We've now moved on the basis of your agreement tonight towards a more slightly different structure. So we've created a structure which is including strategic risk and operational risk. So strategic risk is very much around the risks for the organisation as a whole, something that we haven't really previously captured in such detail. And then below that, then operational risk. Now, operational risk is very much around the service and the actions that we need to deliver and the threats potentially to those. You'll see on the first page of my report a sort of diagram which sort of just gives you a brief overview of that. And as you'll see under the operational risk, there are sort of 6 specific risk registers related to the services that we deliver. To the side of strategic risks, I have also included project risks. Now, in the main, project risks will be included within the project and don't necessarily form part of the general everyday risk registers for the council. But there may be an occasion where the project itself can't mitigate the risk in full, and so there is the potential for that risk, in particular in the project, to come in either to the strategic register or to the operational registers. So overall, you'll see that we have 10 strategic risks and we have 40 operational risks based across 5 of those. We have still doing some work around 1 or 2 of the registers there. The intention moving forward is to review the strategic risk quarterly with the strategic leadership team and to do the operational risks 6 monthly with heads of service. And then after that 6 monthly review, then we'll be doing an update report to finance and governance, and then back to your good selves, no doubt, this roughly the same time next year. We have updated the risk management strategy as well to ensure that that reflects the current practice. But happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No questions.
Yes, there is.
Councillor Tully, thank you.
I've been a councillor on and off in different parts of the country for over 50 years. And I have never, ever seen this in, it's SR07. The council is ill prepared for an incident that impacts either the council or the wider community. I hope I never see that. We've been going for 3 years and it's still not there in place. That's totally wrong. Especially in today's day and age with what's happening throughout the world. All we need is one nutcase to do something in Taunton. And the police will be there, the ambulance service, the fire service. We are not prepared. I find that very unfair and unnecessary. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. I think what that risk is really trying to say is we as a council are ill prepared should there be a disruption to our service. And as members will recall, be it some time ago, we have got business continuity plans in place both for the Deane House and for our depot up at Trafalgar House. And we are currently working on an emergency plan, so if something should happen in the community, and whilst we're not a category 1 responder in respect of an incident, so that would be Somerset Council, we would then have in place a role to fulfil. I think it would be ill-advised for us not to recognise that there will be occasions, you know, we are living in a very, you quite rightly say, in very different times to where we were 2 or 3 years ago. I think it would be ill-advised for us not to recognise that there could be a situation where our services could be disrupted for a number of reasons. And so therefore, I think that risk, it's a low risk. Current risk is only a score of 4, so the likelihood is low and the impact would be low. But I think it's overall, I think it would be ill-advised not to have that sort of risk on the register. So ensure that basically we keep up to date with our business continuity plans. We have an emergency plan in place and things like that. So I think I think the fact is that it's there. We do have plans, but it's just registered to ensure that we don't miss anything in effect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now I'll call on Councillor Deacon.
Yeah, I also want to come out. I think Andrew's covered most of the points. My understanding of this risk register is to manage any potential risk that the council may face. It doesn't mean that we are underprepared. It means it's a risk if we aren't, that we should be prepared. So the whole point of the risk register is not that all of these things are going to happen. It's to make sure that we're aware of them, act on it, and make sure that we de-risk it. It's why the potential score could be up to a 9, but our actual score is a 4 because we are doing things about it. And this register is designed for you to monitor all of those risks. So actually, I would be concerned if a council didn't have that risk noted on its risk register, because it's essential and really important and the whole point of the exercise. So it might be a language thing in the document, but I'm really comfortable that the whole point of the risk register is to identify the risk, what we're doing to mitigate it, and what the score therefore is. And on that particular line, SR07, I think it's very clear that that's what it states.
Thank you, Councillor Deacon. Yes, in effect, in this environment, risk is about threat. So it's the threat of what could happen to derail either the delivery of our service or the delivery of our objections and actions. So yes, that's basically what it's there for. But thank you, Councillor Deacon.
Councillor Toos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies if this comes to finance and governance, but which committee reviews the business continuity plan, please?
I believe it's Ops and Assets. Yes, it's Ops and Assets. I think when we presented our first editions last year, it was to Ops and Assets.
Thank you. I'm not on Ops and Assets. So
we can always, I don't know the protocol, but if needs be, we can always do a presentation. We can always bring them back to full council if members feel that there is a need for full council to see them and approve them.
I'm not suggesting that the Ops and Assets haven't done a good review. It's just I don't remember seeing it myself, but that will explain why.
Are there any other questions? In that case, we will move to a vote. It's to consider and agree to the revised risk management strategy number 1 And number 2, to consider and agree the risk registers at both strategic and operational level that will become the risks of the council from April 2026. Do I have a proposal, please? Councillor Smith-Roberts, a seconder. Councillor Toos. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I declare that vote is carried. Thank you. Which brings us on to the last item on the agenda. Number 14, meetings calendar. I now like to call on the Democratic Services Officer, Ollie Hardy, to introduce the item. Hendy, did I say Hardy? I'm doing it again. I know your name is Ollie Hendy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So this report just outlines the proposed calendar of meetings for the next municipal year. It's been prepared in consultation with the heads of service, along with our civic and engagement lead, Joe Comer, just to highlight those major civic events in the calendar. The main changes that you'll see in the report is that Grants Committee has gone to bi-monthly meetings as a result of the proposed transfer of the ward members initiative scheme to the Grants Committee, as well as 2 standalone meetings for venue grants and youth grants. There's also been a change to the Personnel Committee, which reduced to quarterly. This is due to shorter agendas for the meetings. Another key change is the Community and Places Committee, which has gone from monthly to bi-monthly, but with a reserve date on every other month. And additionally, the Finance and Governance Committee has just been moved the 4th week of the month to allow the finance team to close the accounts and prepare reports for the deadlines. So if this is approved tonight, me and the community will start putting calendar invites in everyone's calendar and preparing the file plan. I'll take any questions.
Lots of questions. Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Mine is actually just a request, and I don't know whether it's helpful to other councillors. So we're moving the MIS to grants. That's going to be bi-monthly, but I know that Will has to have the papers so many weeks or so many time before the meeting. I'm used to this in my work where I have to put forward ideas for development, but I have to get it in by a set date. I'm wondering if we could have those put in our calendars. So it's just a reminder to us as ward councillors to think about the fact that actually we have got this amount of money to use and spend, and that's when it needs to go. Otherwise, you could almost be at like another 3 months before it goes to a meeting. You then have to sign the forms that go out to the people who are successful. So it does just help focus people's minds as to when money could go through, because it needs a long lead in time.
Thank you. Councillor Flanders.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. No, it's just an observation. I mean, I've got no problem with the meetings about the Community and Place Committee being returned back to bi-monthly with a reserve date. It's just that the Community and Place Committee is a very, very, very busy committee, and I can just visualise that those reserve dates will end up being every month, because those reserve dates will go each time. And I know that we do, as current chair, we do try and keep it to a timely. So some agendas are quicker than others, but on the whole they are still packed agendas, and I do worry that going forwards that it will end up being once a month. And going back to Councillor Smith-Roberts' point about the WIMS, completely agree about that, the Ward Members Initiative Scheme, about us as councillors having some. Is the Grants Committee going to monthly, bi-monthly? Again, one of the good things about having the Community in Place Committee meeting once a month meant that we could actually get those Ward Members Initiative schemes through quickly, because they were being reviewed and seen monthly. So I think it's just something to bear in mind. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I'll take Councillor views on this one, and then Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up on both of those comments, I'd firstly like to apologise to everyone on the Grants Committee that we are loading up your calendar a little more because we work quarterly. But I hope this actually does make it fairer, that we're taking, I'm aware that Community in Place Committee has had really stacked agendas. So hopefully it will make slightly more sense to have all the finance stuff going out to the community through the Grants Committee, and we'll take a little bit off the plate for Community in Place. But it does mean that there will be slightly bigger gaps in between. Very happy to review that after this year to see how that works for everybody. But yeah, please do get your applications in early. I think it's about 3 weeks ideally, but the earlier you talk to Will about your grant, the better. Okay, that would be really good. Thank you.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just going to support Councillor Fernandez's review of that, of the community place. It is the last 3 community places have lasted nearly 3 hours, if not more. They've been very packed, full agendas, and that's meeting every month. I think if we start to meet every 2 months, so I don't know if it's possible to change. I know we won't have the ward member schemes, but actually we've only had 2 or 3 maximum community place. So we've already ditched the chair's report for community place to make it quicker. So I would be happy with. We seem to have such a lot to do to community events.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. I'd just like to make an observation myself. I chaired community services as it then was the first year, and that was then split the following year into community in place and ops and assets, because the volume of work has increased out of all proportion. And I must admit, from a personal point of view, having an alternate meeting can make it more difficult. I mean, we're at the moment for town twinning, having the grant for town twinning moved from grants committee to, from community in place to grants committee, and it happens to straddle the period we've got to get the application in. So Councillor O'Donnell and I had a meeting with Will, who's the grants officer, and we all understand much better, I think, now what needs to be done. But it is a challenge, and I'm just very concerned about these timescales, because the council is busy, which is very good in many ways, but it brings its own issues. So we need to approve the meeting centre. Are there any other questions? Councillor Deane.
Yeah, just a quick comment on reserve dates. So I think having reserve dates in is really helpful. Can I just request that just members are told as soon as possible if the reserve date isn't needed? I think there was a little bit of confusion, maybe the last full council, about whether it was happening or not. So just a request that we just inform that would be great. But I think they should go in the diary because that's really helpful.
Are there any other comments before we move to a vote? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just for clarity, are we going with the meetings calendar as shown and maybe seeing how it goes for the first few months, because the chair of the committee can always change the frequency of the meetings to monthly? Yeah. And on the point of the ward members initiative scheme deadlines, I'll have a word will we get those in the calendar as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie. Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, I was just going to ask, how easy is it for committee to be in an extraordinary meeting? That like if community in place are struggling and think, oh, actually we've got a reserve day, but actually we need an extraordinary meeting. How easy is it to convene that?
Is that one for you, Marks?
You can do it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, very easy, and our procedures for the chair and officers to work to get those in the diary. I think last year we had some extraordinary community in place committees meetings that had to be called at short notice. So the quorum limits are what they are, and then the agendas can be worked with the democratic services to do that if required. Thank you.
If meetings are scheduled, people have dates in their diaries, whereas with extraordinary meetings, sometimes not everybody can make it, but it is what it is. I think it's a question of doing the best we can this year and see how we go. Are you happy with what we've decided? Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments before we move on? Well, in that case, the proposition is to consider approving the calendar of meetings for the 2026-27 municipal year as set out in Appendix A. Do I have a proposal? Councillor Donald, hand went up so quickly. Councillor Fernan, seconding. Could I have a show of hands in favour, please? Are there any against? Are there any abstentions? Well, I declare that proposition carried. Well, thank you, my fellow councillors. The time is 7:20. I'd just like to say, give you an apology. It's partly my age and partly the fact that I've been working such an intensive schedule. I sometimes say something I didn't mean to say. I get name mixed up and all sorts of things. I mean to say one thing and I'll say something else. So my humble apologies, and I hope it hasn't disrupted the meeting so badly.